Okay, so I think you'll find this an interesting story. And like all the stories, it's a true story, but one with a moral, or at least a lesson to be learned. A long time ago, I founded a business called Video News International. And the idea was to have video journalists all over the world reporting. We're talking about 1990, I guess, so it's a long time ago. Anyway, I start a business, you have to raise money. In order to raise money, I went out and I found, I didn't know how to do this. There was a guy named Paul Grunberg who showed me how to do this. And he took me to a guy named Nick Nicholas. Now, Nick Nicholas was then the chairman and CEO of Time Life magazines. This was before they merged with Warner to become Time Warner, and when magazines and Time magazine and Life magazine were still big businesses. Anyway, I sat in Nick Nicholas's office and I explained the idea to him to have all these VJs around the world with their video cameras, which is what we used in those days. And it was about 10 minutes, and I had never done this before. And after I finished talking, he opened the desk drawer and he reached in the desk drawer and he took out a check for $100,000 and wrote it out and tossed it across the table to me and said, "I'm in," which was fantastic. So he actually became one of the lead investors in this company, Video News International, which we ended up selling, and it became the New York Times Television. But that's another story. Anyhow, after Nick Nicholas was in, he said, "Come with me," and he took me down the hall. We were in the Time Life building over there. It was on 6th Avenue. And he introduced me to all these great photographers who were with Time and Life magazine. David Kennerly and Dirk Halstead, and so they were the first people I trained to be VJs. I've always found that photographers made a fantastic tradition to being video journalists because they got the eye, they're used to working by themselves, they're generally pretty smart, they know their way around the world, so it worked out pretty well. So those were the first video journalists I had. In fact, David Kennerly was the very, very first, a very famous photojournalist. And of course, they did a great job. We went on Nightline immediately with Kennerly. So the whole thing worked out fairly well. Anyway, I became very friendly with all of them, and particularly with a guy named P.F. Bentley, who Dirk Halstead introduced me to. And he was the White House photographer at Time magazine. He was Bill Clinton in those days. And you've seen the pictures of Clinton at the desk, all them black and white. You know, they call them double trucks. There were 2 pages of the magazine for one photograph. That was Bentley. He's a great guy. He lives in Hawaii today. Very, very talented. And maybe he's watching this. Anyway, so years later, this was 1990, so years later, Bentley called me up one day and he said, "I'm going on a photo shoot," I don't know, we were in the same town, "and why don't you come with me? I think you'll find it interesting." Now, because he was such a famous photographer, he got free cameras from Canon, I guess, and he had the brand new digital Canon. Nobody had digital before. It was the beginning of digital photography. And so we went to this political event, whatever it was, and we were sitting in the front row, and there was people up on the dais and this table, and politicians having this discussion about stuff. And Bentley, he held up the Canon, and he didn't put it in his eye. He just held the camera, and he went like this, and he spun around, and the thing was going flip, tut, tut, tut. I mean, today we accept it as normal, but then in film, you only got 36 exposures to a roll, and he must have shot 100 shots of this one thing. And then I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm taking pictures." I said, "Come on, you're not even looking through the camera." He said, "I don't have to. It's digital. It's very cool." Then we went back to this hotel room, and he connected the camera to a laptop, which I'd never seen before. And of course, splayed out in front of me were the 100 photographs. And he said, "There's a good one in here somewhere." And of course there was, because inevitably, if you run off 100 exposures of one thing, you're going to find one good exposure. And so he said, and there it is. And I guess he sent it to Time magazine and stuff like that. And he said, "That's the future." I said, "You don't understand. Your career is over." He said, "Why is that?" I said, "Because if you could do that, anybody could do that." And it turned out, of course, anybody could do that. And of course, in a couple of years, of course, Life magazine went out of business, and all the contract photographers at Time magazine got fired, and now every schmuck and their brother has a phone, and they're uploading 5 billion photographs to Instagram every day, and everybody is a photographer. Yeah, I know. Professional photographers. I know all about it. Professional photographers. Try making a living as a photographer. There was a time I started as a photographer. That's how I know this thing. That's how I got in the video business, because I like to take pictures. But you can't make a living at it, or it's extremely difficult to make a living at it. A guy like Bob Christ, incredibly talented. He's fortunate, I guess, at the end of his long and successful career with National Geographic. But I don't recommend going and becoming a photojournalist, for the future, because it sucks. And the reason it sucks is not because people have lost interest in photography. On the contrary, everybody is interested in photography. The reason is everybody is doing photography. So in the old days, when you had to have a camera and you had to get on a plane, you had to know what you were doing, you had to be able to read a light meter, you had to know ASA or ISO, and you don't know hyperfocal distance scales. That's all finished. So everybody carries a professional, you see the quality that the iPhone 10 gets? Everybody carries a professional camera with them in their pocket 24 hours a day, and all they do is take pictures, mostly of themselves and mostly of crap, and they put it on Instagram, and Instagram is an endless stream of photographs. And professional photographers, they're screwed. I mean, that's just how it is. They're out of business. So what happened to photography is now happening to video. Everybody and their brother has a video camera because they all got phones. And the phone like this one, this is the 10, shoots 4K, and you can edit, and you can put in graphics, and you can load it up to Facebook or YouTube. 500 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute. Do you understand that it would take NBC or CBS 30,000 years of production to make the amount of video that goes to YouTube every year? So something very critical is happening to our business. This visual, video, photography, storytelling business is going through an incredibly seminal, fundamental transformation. And the problem is that conventional networks like CNN, who just, as you saw the news this morning, fired Casey Neistat after a year, they don't get it. They don't get it because they're wrapped up to a world where we have the cameras, we tell the stories, we are the journalists, we are the reporters, the rest of your job is to watch it. But the equation has reversed. For all of the history of broadcast, since the first radio station was made by Westinghouse in 1923, the structure of broadcasting has been, we make it, you watch it. We make it, you listen to it. Even newspapers, we make it, you read it. We, the very small elite minority, and the rest of you schmucks, that's your job, is just to watch it or listen to it or read it. But in point of fact, the thing has been turned upside down. And now we're in a world where everybody makes it. Everybody makes it. And of course, everybody reads it or listens to it or watches it. This is a fundamental shift in the basic architecture of the entire media business. And the question is, how does it shake out? And a more significant question is, how do you make money or how do you make a living doing it? We can get into this a lot in another time, but fundamentally, the old idea of we'll pay you, very talented person, Matt Lauer, $30 million a year. I mean, if that isn't the dumbest thing in the world. So we'll pay you, one very talented person, an enormous amount of money to do all this stuff, but you're only one person making one thing. We're out there in the world now, there's like 500 million people making stuff all the time. And how do we create an architecture that allows at least the best of them to get paid? We'll be back with that maybe tomorrow, most likely Monday. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and if you have any questions or issues, like it, share it, and don't forget to sign up for thevj.com, because I got to pay for this place. I'll see you later. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you want to learn more and see more, come and see us at thevj.com. Is that right?